The higher physical dimensions actually pertain to the various states of consciousness that are experienced by humans in their human physiology. Now, scientists have been making studies and researchers and looking for the higher physical dimensions for many years now. These dimensions, we know, are based on the space-time continuum. For example, we have one dimension of length, there is width, there's height, and there is time. A very good example of this would be the apple that fell on Newton's head while he was under the tree in England. So that would be a very specific example of how the space-time continuum has evolved in its concept. Now, recent physicists have proposed that the higher dimensions are curled up in between space itself. Let's say it's in between the length and the width, or in between the width and the height. But however, one needs to understand, or if a person understands, that the concept of consciousness as the basis of the universe, then one can see that the higher dimensions are really involved or can be found within the human states of consciousness. Now, what are they? Let me explain. There are 7 of these states. For example, the first one would be the waking state of consciousness, and simply put, that will be when you are awake and you're listening to this narration, then that will be the waking state of consciousness. The second state is the sleeping state of consciousness. That's obviously when you are asleep and you're not able to remember or think about anything. This happens to all human beings when they go to sleep at night. And the third state of consciousness is the dreaming state. During the dreaming state, the person goes into various dreams, which is different from the waking state and which is different from the sleeping state. So that in itself is a complex topic which we really cannot discuss at this time. And the fourth state of consciousness is called the samadhi state. Now, this is a concept that is taken from the Indian philosophy that's been cognized by the rishis or the wise men from India. This samadhi state is separate from the usual states that we have mentioned, other than the waking, sleeping, and dreaming state. The samadhi state can only be achieved through meditation. And so once you get into this state, then it is functioning quite differently from the other states that I have mentioned earlier. And this can only be done by the use of mantras, and to experience it, yourself to determine the actual difference of this particular samadhi state. And the fifth state of consciousness is called the cosmic consciousness. Now, what is this? The cosmic state of consciousness is a state whereby the samadhi state, which I mentioned just a second ago, is the permanent manifestation of the samadhi state in all of the waking state, the sleeping state, and the dreaming state of the person. So what I'm saying is that the samadhi state is more of a temporary nature. It doesn't last for too long. But however, as the person practices in his meditation consistently, then eventually that person will become a cosmic being, person who has reached cosmic consciousness, meaning that the person experiences samadhi state in all states of consciousness, even while he's awake, even while sleeping and dreaming. So this is more of the permanent state of the samadhi state. And I can discuss about the other two. There's the other one is called a God consciousness, and the highest one of all is unity consciousness. This is really the highest state of consciousness that the individual can ever reach, and that this is understanding the fact that he is more in unity or being one with the creator of this entire universe. I'm not going to make a long dissertation about that fact, but the idea is that these states of consciousness are the extension of space-time itself. So, in conclusion, the current researchers in quantum physics need to consider the role of consciousness in making their studies about the various subatomic particles and the unknown natural laws in our own universe. By understanding the various states of consciousness as a natural extension of space, time, the space-time continuum, then one can understand that the human being and his or her physiology is essentially the fulfillment of the universe's ascension from matter to consciousness.